Welcome to Redtastic. Story 1. It's been a tough journey for me. 17 years ago, I, 53 male, lost my beloved wife and 2 kids in a horrifying car accident. The pain was unimaginable, and I made the decision not to remarry. So after mourning my family and staying alone for almost 2 years, I chose to adopt a young boy named Sam from an orphanage. He was only 8 years old at the time, and from that moment on, I treated him like my own flesh and blood. I'm fortunate to have some wealth, so I've always made sure Sam is well taken care of. Time passed, and 2 years ago, Sam, who is now 23 years old, surprised me with big news. He revealed that he had a girlfriend who was pregnant. I was shocked, as he had never mentioned having a girlfriend before. Nevertheless, I embraced the situation with open arms and supported them both throughout the pregnancy. I even invited Sam's girlfriend to live with us and provided for all her needs. Now, little Sam Jr. is growing up, and I couldn't be happier to be a grandpa. However, things took an unexpected turn. One day, as I was playing with Sam Jr. and calling him my grandson, Sam walked in looking upset. He told me I couldn't call his child my grandson because his biological grandpa was still alive. He even went to the extent of instructing his girlfriend and Sam Jr. not to call me grandpa either. I was taken aback by his words and sudden change of behavior. You see, Sam's biological dad was never there for him, and that's why he ended up in the orphanage. His mom was young and couldn't handle the responsibility, so she had no choice but to leave him there. So I asked him just to clarify what I was to him. Guys, he told me I was just his adoptive dad. He even added that I should just forget about being called a grandpa because no one will ever call me one since I don't have a family of my own. He was trying to make me feel grateful for having him in my life, rather than appreciating the fact that I pulled him out of the many kids at the orphanage. Recently, I fell seriously ill and had to be rushed to the hospital. My condition was quite severe and life-threatening, so I had to spend some time at the hospital. The doctors were not positive about my health too, so it was a scary time for all of us. That was when Sam approached me with an unexpected request. Guys, can you imagine? Instead of showing concern for my health, he wanted me to make a will, leaving my house and some money in a trust fund for Sam Jr., the same child he doesn't want me to call my grandkid. He said it would secure the child's future because he isn't sure when he will be financially stable. I was utterly stunned by this demand and couldn't agree to it. I suggested he approach his biological father, who might be willing to help out, as I can't because we are not bio-related. He argued that since I adopted him, then I must provide for all of his needs regardless. I told him I would rather donate my wealth to charity than give it to him. Initially, even before the arrival of his child, I had already planned to include him in my will without him asking. But Sam's behavior made me question the bond we shared. So I'm rethinking my decision, as I don't think he deserves to inherit anything from me. Ever since then, Sam has been angry with me, calling me mean and heartless for not granting his request. But deep down, I can't help feeling it would be unfair to give away my hard-earned property and money to someone ungrateful as Sam, who does not care about my well-being and, most importantly, doesn't consider our bond over the years to be strong just because he is not biologically related to me. So I'm left wondering, am I the a-hole for refusing to make a will for my adopted grandson? I understand Sam Jr. is completely innocent in this situation, but then Sam's behavior and action towards me is something I cannot turn a blind eye to. So please share your thoughts on my situation to help me make the right decision. Update. Hello everyone, I'm very happy about your help and support throughout this journey and for sharing your thoughts on my situation. I want to mention that I am currently safe and sound, as my condition is no longer life-threatening. When I got home, Sam still came to me requesting that I meet his demands. In response, I gave him a rental house to go and stay in with his girlfriend and kid, after which we would have nothing to do with each other again. He protested against the idea, but then I stuck to my decision. The legal contract binding us had long ended. Since he can't comply and let us keep the bond we used to have, then it will be better if we go our separate ways. I also made him aware that he needs to start fending for himself, now that he is a fully grown man, as I won't continue doing so. Once again, I thank you all for your support. You're not the a-hole, OP, and I'm sorry Sam turned out this way. You've looked after him and taken care of him like your own son, but now he says you're just his adoptive dad. I don't know where that came from, but I'm glad you're acting accordingly. If he wants to be treated like an adopted child, then that's also fine. He's an adult now, so you don't have to take care of him anymore. Nor are you obligated to take care of his kid or will your property to him like Sam said. It's your property, you should get to do with it whatever you want. Sam deserves nothing more from you since he's ungrateful and a jerk. It's time to cut him out of your life. I know it will be lonely, but you can't keep someone like Sam in your life just because you don't want to be alone. He will make you miserable and you don't deserve that. Take care, OP. Story 2. For context, my boyfriend, 26 male, and I, 24 female, both have jobs that have us work during the day. We both have a daughter, 5 female, Sage. We live close to my mother, so she offered to watch after Sage during the day. However, about 2 months ago, my mother started seeing this guy. We'll call him Mark. I didn't know him, and so I told my mother that I didn't feel comfortable with him being at her house while she was babysitting Sage. She told me that he wouldn't be there during the day and that he works very often, so they only get to see each other every so often. I believed her because she's my mother and we are very close. But the problem started when I was driving back to my house after picking up Sage. She says to me, "Mommy, I really have to pee. Can we stop somewhere?" I asked her, "Why didn't you go at Grandma's? We just left 5 minutes ago." My daughter proceeds to tell me that my mother locks her up in my mother's room while Mark comes over. At this point, I'm confused and a little pissed off because Mark wasn't supposed to be there in the first place. When I get home, I talk to my boyfriend after Sage goes to bed. He tells me that I should talk to my mother and I go drop off Sage the next day. And I did that. First thing I asked my mother was, "Is Mark coming over while you're watching Sage?" And she tells me, "No, why are you asking?" I tell her what Sage told me and she goes on to say that Sage is only 5 and she's making up stories for attention. I tell her that Sage isn't a liar and she knows better than to make up stories like this. We go back and forth for a bit before I get her to fess up. My mother tells me that sometimes Mark comes over and when he does, she locks Sage in her room so that they can have sex in the living room. I blew up on her saying, "You've only known this guy for 2 months and you're already having him over with my daughter here. Not only could he have hurt you or her, but you're locking her up in a bedroom so that you can have sex." I tell her that she isn't allowed to watch Sage anymore and she started getting angry, saying that she wouldn't have let anything happen to Sage and that she was allowed to do what she wants because it's her house. I didn't listen to her, took Sage and went home. We haven't gone back over there in a week. I've had my sister watch Sage, but I need to either find a reliable babysitter or quit my job. Those aren't big deals, but Sage really misses my mother, but I'm just not ready to let her watch Sage. My boyfriend doesn't want my mother to watch Sage either, but now I feel kind of bad. Did I overreact? Update. My boyfriend and I have found a daycare for Sage until she goes to school next year. Also, my mother is no longer allowed to be with Sage alone. However, she can see her at my house with either my boyfriend or I. Not the a-hole, OP. No, you didn't overreact. You don't lock away a child so you can have sex. Yes, it is your mother's house and she can do what she wants there, but she has gone way too far with this one. Why couldn't she wait till you had collected your daughter to have sex? That trust is broken. A visit with you and Sage wouldn't do harm, but just never let her babysit again. Now for some comments. Not the a-hole. OP, you non-violently let someone know that you don't condone child neglect and take action to keep it from continuing. If anything, you underreacted, but are still in the good reaction section. The fact that it's a family you claim to have an otherwise good relationship with is the only reason I can see to not call the authorities. Personally, I would make that the last favor to family and cut ties. Nailed it. Just like grandma was nailing a guy while she locked her 5-year-old granddaughter in a bedroom with no access to a toilet or other things. God forbid the kid hurt themselves. She lied repeatedly about this, tried pinning the lie on a 5-year-old little girl, and it wasn't until you really pressed that she finally confessed that she prioritizes getting laid, and this guy's D, over her grandchild. If she has those kinds of priorities, then she definitely should not be watching this child. Story 3. Some background information. I, 41 male, have disabled daughter Molly, 11 female, with my ex-girlfriend Sarah, 37 female. This all started 12 years ago. Sarah and I were together for about 4 years and we were trying to have a baby. After a couple weeks of trying, she got pregnant and we were super excited. Unfortunately, in her 4th month, doctors told us that our baby is severely disabled and advised us to get an abortion. It was very hard on us. We started arguing a lot because Sarah wanted to keep the baby and I didn't. I said I don't want to spend my whole life taking care of a child and throwing everything away. But Sarah didn't want to kill the baby. We argued about this every day. Eventually it became too much and we broke up. We still kept in contact with each other as friends. Couple months later, she went into labor. I came into the hospital with her to support her. As the doctor said, Molly was born severely disabled. They kept her in the hospital for a couple of weeks and then gave her to Sarah. She took her to her house and I visited them a couple times. Within the next months, I got a job offer and moved away to another city. Me and Sarah are still in contact and I send the big money every month. But we meet each other very rarely, about once in 2 years. So now Molly is 11 years old. She is bound to a wheelchair and will never walk. She has the mind of a 3-year-old and can't speak. Sarah left everything to take care of her. She is at home with her 24/7 because Molly is unable to do anything on her own. They get state contributions since Sarah can't go to work and I send them money. I have a wife now and 2 daughters, 5 years old, and we live about 4-hour drive away from Sarah. Sarah called me last week saying that it's too much for her. She said she does nothing else than take care of Molly and she is tired. She gave up on her career, hobbies, friends and everything. She asked me to start taking care of Molly as well. She asked if I could have her in my care at least 1 week every 2 months in the beginning, and after I know how to take care of her, then maybe more often. I talked about it with my wife and we both agreed we don't want to take care of Molly. I apologized to Sarah and instead I offered to pay for a professional to take care of her or to pay for some facility to take her in. But Sarah refused. She doesn't want a stranger to take care of Molly nor put her away in a facility. I feel bad for Sarah, but I have a responsibility to my 2 daughters and my wife now. I talked about it with my parents and they understand and don't blame me, but I feel like I might be the a-hole. Now for some comments. Sarah says she doesn't want a stranger to take care of her daughter, but OP is literally a stranger to this kid. Sarah wants to ship her daughter off to live somewhere 4 hours away, and I would imagine that would be a lot more traumatic than a stranger caring for her in her home, not the a-hole. My uncle has incredibly severe autism and several other illness and deformities. His mother put him in a group home when she got too old, and he is thriving there. He has begun a job there as a handyman repairing patient appliances, and she still visits him and takes him out, but is the happiest he has ever been. I got pregnant at 19. Scans and tests showed it was a boy, but also he had all sorts of birth defects. He had spina bifida, cerebral palsy, cystic fibrosis, cleft palate, 1 leg with a clubfoot, and the other didn't develop a knee. He had severe nerve damage and the doctors told me if he was born, he would never know a moment of his life without horrible pain and distress, and that life might be as much as 10 years old. I could not allow a child to suffer that badly for that long. I had an abortion at 6.5 months and I have not regretted it for a single day in the 15 years since. That abortion was a mercy for both of us.